Well, we are live. I didn't even know what was happening. Welcome everybody to the Chicken Box. I'm hearing an echo. That means, when it echoes, it means there's really a good effect and a good sounding conversation. I'm your co-host, Kevin Impeccable Peck, affectionately known as Impeccable. Jay Jackson, along with Dr. Francis Draper, CEO of the Afro. Yes, this is the Chicken Box. What is the Chicken Box? If you're from the Baltimore area, you definitely know what the Chicken Box is. It's four wings. It's salt and pepper, usually fried, not grilled, no air fryers, but you got some fried salt, pepper, ketchup, and of course, some people love hot sauce. It's lunchtime. I'm getting a little hungry, but here on the Afro, it is where you get to speak your truth. It's where you get to stand on the box and speak whatever is on your heart and mind. We don't have to agree with you. Isn't that wonderful, people? We can have different opinions. Man, Dr. Draper, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling hungry. Impeccable. You start talking about chicken and four wings and fries and salt, pepper, ketchup, and hot sauce.
I'm telling you, and I haven't eaten yet, so I'm going to just stay with my little energy drink and keep moving. Jay Jackson, how you feeling today? We got a great show.
I'm doing well. It's good to be back on the show. I'm looking very forward to this episode to talk to our guests. Absolutely. And how are you guys?
Good.
Absolutely. Jay, why don't you get us started? I mean, I couldn't even really title it today, but what title did we put to the show today?
This one is, I believe it's Black Hair Care Industry and the Cultural Movement, which I think is kind of bearing the lead, to be honest. So today we're going to be talking to George E. Johnson, who at the young age of 27 years created the Johnson Products Company, otherwise known as JPC, which was the first Black-owned company to trade on the major stock exchange in the U.S. It became the financial sponsor of Soul Train, and was once considered the largest Black-owned manufacturing company in the world. At its height of its success, JPC was worth $37 million, which is $225 million by today's standards. In the coming-of-age story, Johnson uses his life skills and strong character built from working odd jobs as a teenager and practicing the golden rule to create a business that both nurtures and advances the Black community. Without a formal education, he filled the gap in the Black hair care industry and created a high-quality formula for straightening hair and the iconic Ultra Sheen and Afro Sheen products that supported Black people in expressing their authentic beauty. For decades, Johnson has been an inspiration to Black entrepreneurs, setting an example of Black wealth and providing a safe space for Black people to work. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you.
George Johnson, you're looking good there, young man. You're looking
Thank
good.
you.
And we're excited to have George on the show today. George just released, some people might say it's a memoir, but really it's a manual, George, on how to really succeed in business. And so we want to talk about your illustrious, I don't want to even call it a career because it's certainly not over. You're still you're an icon. You're really somebody to look up to. And we want to talk about your new book, Afro Sheen, and all of that went into writing it. Yes, but I know it was a long time. And I read somewhere in the book where you said you didn't think your story was worth telling, but we beg to differ. You had a story not only worth telling, a story worth repeating, a story worth getting into the hands of every young person, no matter what they aspire to do. So I want to thank you personally for taking the time to, get this done. This is a wonderful book. All right, that's my commercial for the book, and this is my copy. And when I come to Chicago, this is my copy that I want signed, so I'll bring it with me. But welcome, George. Good to see
you. Thank you, Dr. Francis. It was never that I thought the story was not worth telling. I just didn't want to write one because I don't like to talk about myself. And when my grandkids would ask me how I started JPC, and I'd start talking about how all of the wonderful blessings that the Lord bestowed upon me, it made me cry. And because you know, and because I didn't like talking about myself and I didn't like to cry the way I did, I didn't want to write a book. And I was that way until I was 94. And I was 94. And when I was 94, on a Sunday morning, November 21st, 2021, sitting in my comfortable chair in my family room, watching TV, all of a sudden I couldn't see the TV. And I tried to get up to see what was going on. I couldn't get up. And all of a sudden I heard 5 words: "You must tell your story." And I believe that was the Lord telling me I had to write this book. And that's what turned me around.
Wow.
And fortunately, within 4 days, I had a wonderful writer, Hillary Beard. And we started, this was in November, we started writing the book in January of 2022, and that's what you have now.
Well, thank you so much for your obedience to the voice and the 5 words that motivated you at 94 to write this book. That's an amazing story, and you talk about that in the book. But I'm going to turn it over to one of my co-hosts, Jay or Impeccable.
Can we go back, George? Can we go back to 27-year-old George?
Okay.
As it said, you did various jobs like most people. You came from Mississippi. We understand that story, even coming from Mississippi to Chicago. You might not remember it, maybe because of how young you were when you came. But what was the eye-opening moment that said, I have to start my own business?
Well, here again, you know, one of the blessings that I received from the Lord, I had a wife and 2 children when I was 25 years old, and I had a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old. I worked 2 jobs and washed cars on the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday, and had no future. The next day, I was preparing to go to my second job. By the way, I was working at Fuller Products at the time, had been working at Fuller Products since I was 17 years old. And Fuller Products was the largest Black-owned company in America, and it was in the cosmetic business, made hair care, facial products, and a lot of different products, including vanilla flavor. Anyway, I was on my way to my second job. I got on the elevator at the 5th floor. The elevator stops on the 3rd floor. And this gentleman gets on the elevator. And when I looked at him, I blurted out of my mouth without thinking, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he told me he came to Mr. Fuller because it was a Black company and he had a product that was giving him a lot of trouble. And he had a big business. He had the largest and busiest barbershop in Chicago. And he was disappointed that Mr. Fuller didn't want to do anything because he was so busy with his own products. And I said to him, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about. If you have a card, give me your card, and I'll come by and see what I can do to help you because I work in the lab." And he gave me his card. We shook hands. I put that card in my dresser drawer when I got home that night. I didn't see it again for 2 months. Picked it up one Saturday morning and went over to see what was going on in his barbershop. And that is what started me on the road to having a business. And what I did, I took the product that he was making, that he was using, to the lab, and the head of the lab was Dr. Herbert Martini, and Doc and I were very close. Anyway, I discussed it with him, and we started working on a product, trying to see what was going on with it, and just let his stuff go back to the wayside. And it took us 9 months to emulsify that product. The product was active ingredient was sodium hydroxide. The alkalinity was very high, and it was very difficult to emulsify. We tried every emulsifying agent in America, and it didn't work. Doc Martini was a German, and he had contacts in Germany with chemical companies, and we got some emulsifiers from Germany. And one day we found the right one, and we did emulsify that product. He tested it to the point where he said, "Don't move it any further. You've got it." And it just popped out of my head. Well, I told Orville, we should market it. Well, and that I just said we should market it. And he asked me, "Well, what do you think it will take?" And I said, $500, just like that. I had no idea what it would take to market it, and I didn't even know I was going to say $500. But the reason I did is because I knew I could borrow. At least I thought I could borrow $250 from loan company. I had borrowed money before and didn't owe any money at the time, so I knew I was going to get that money. That's why I said $500. Anyway, when I went to the loan company that I had been working with and talked to the officer that had worked with me before, I was so elated. I told him, "Well, if I need $250 to start my business, and it's going to be a great success. I know it, and all I need you to do is give me $250." And he looked at me strangely, and he said, "Well, I'm going to do you a favor." He said, "I'm not going to give you this money, because if I do, your boss is going to find out that you're in the same business he's in, and he's going to fire you, and you're not going to be able to pay back this money." So you know what that did for me? My feathers dropped. I was so disappointed. I walked out of there, and I got a half a block away, and something said to me, that's just one branch of this company, and there must be a place a central place where they approve credit. Try another branch. And that's 3 days later, I did that. And I went in and I told the guy that I had a vacation coming, and I want to take my wife to California. I need $250. I walked out of there 20 minutes later with a check for $250. And the next blessing, I didn't know how much it would take, but that $500, when I got through buying all the things I could buy, and people that I work with, whether vendors, suppliers that I work with at Fuller Products, helped me out also. For instance, the guy that sold Fuller Products glass, and minimum purchase was 5 dozen. He brought me 6 dozen, and 6 dozen jars, 6 dozen caps. Same way with the supplier that sold us oil and petrolatum. That guy got one of his customers to fill up a 5-gallon can with mineral oil and a 50-gallon pail with petrolatum, which I needed. Anyway, it went on like that. And when I spent all the money that I needed to make one batch of that $500, I had $1 left in the bank.
Well, that's quite a story. That is quite. So listen, if you're just tuning in, this is the Chicken Box, powered by the Afro, the nation's oldest continuously published Black newspaper by the same family. And we are privileged this afternoon on the Chicken Box to be talking with George Ellis Johnson, the founder of Afro Sheen, who just released a book by the same name. And so he's telling us his story. We're sitting at his feet. For those of you who are watching by Facebook or LinkedIn or what's the other streaming platform?
YouTube.
Yeah. Welcome. Thank you for those of you who are commenting. Keep your comments going. I have a question for you, George, a different kind of question. I was really struck when I read the book about how intentional you are and were about building a positive company culture and taking care of those who worked alongside with you in your company, and how much detail, we're going beyond when you were 27 now. This is certainly when the company has become very, very successful, but very, very intentional about being a light in community. Now, companies today, people are taking all these courses about how to impact company culture, but you knew about it a long time ago. Can you tell us a little bit about your philosophy around company culture and taking care of team members and those kinds? I'm real passionate about that subject as well, so I'd like to hear your take on it.
Okay. Well, when I was 17 years old, I went to work for S.B. Fuller. I told you about him. He was probably the richest black man in Chicago, maybe America at the time. And that was 1944. Mr. Fuller's philosophy was do unto others as you would have others do unto you. He drilled that philosophy into me. The years I worked for him, almost 10 years. And I saw what that philosophy would do. Mr. Fuller started his business in 1936 in the heart of the Depression with $25. He bought a car, and when he insured it, the insurance company gave him a refund of $25. He said to that, he looked at that money after he cashed the check and said, I'm going to run you into millions. That's what he told us. And that's what he did. And he started out basing his company on religious principles. And when I went to work for him, as I said, he was the largest black business and the largest manufacturer in America. So I saw what the golden rule could do. And I made that the founding principle of my business. And when you adhere to the golden rule, you do things right. You help people. And then when you help people, people help you. When people see how dedicated you are, they pay attention. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah, that is great. You'll have to let our listeners, our viewers who are not from Chicago and may not have known about your building, tell us a little bit about the building and all of what you did with that. Because in the book you talk about being very intentional about having the building be something that would uplift community.
Well, okay. When I had the fire in 1964, and I had, you read that in the book, I'm sure, but that was an unbelievable experience. And because of Mr. Fuller, my business survived. The fire enabled us to use that building. And the fire was on the 19th of October of 64. I was in New York City and talking with a company about representing us in the international market. And the secretary of that gentleman rushed into the office and said, there's an emergency call for you, Mr. Johnson. And when I answered it, my wife told me that the plant was on fire. My brother had just called her to tell her that flames were leaping out of the roof. And I just immediately left that office, went directly to the airport, and got in my car and drove to Chicago. And say again?
You drove to the office from the
airport? Yeah, well, when I got to Chicago, my car was at the airport, and I drove right directly to the office. And the fire trucks were still there. Anyway, lose my point.
I like the New York story. I like you driving from New York. That sounds good for the movie.
Say again, I didn't understand.
I said I like you driving from New York straight to Chicago. That sounds like it.
No, I didn't drive. I drove directly from that office to the airport. Didn't even check out of the hotel. And, anyway, my point was like, the fire did so much damage I couldn't use it, and I was shocked as I heard that one of my people died in the fire, and it was so upsetting to me. And the business being, we couldn't use the building. That meant I was out of business. But the next morning, Mr. Fuller woke me up with a phone call and said, "Come on down and let's talk." So that's what I did. I went down to Fuller Products. I was so shocked. I sat listening to him. When I walked in, he said something from Job, but I didn't pay much attention to it because I sat there with my head in my hands and half listening, half hearing him until he said that, we're not as busy as we used to be. There's a lot of space in this building. There's a lot of slack in our production. And if you can use anything in this building or anything in the production department, help yourself and we'll work it out. And then I heard that.
Wow.
Because in a matter of hours, the Lord had solved my problem. Mr. Fuller was telling me to come down and use my plant and survive in business. And that's what I did. My people came down to Fuller Products. Some of them reported to work at 2 a.m. We worked in between their production, their needs for if there was a kettle that they emptied and we could get whatever time that was due, I had somebody there to use that. Anyway, we worked that way for about 3 months. And in the meantime, I was looking and found a place for a temporary location, and outfitted it with the machinery because there was a lot of machinery we could still use that didn't burn. And within about 3 months, it took us to get that place together, and then we moved into that and got out of Fuller Products. But I knew that wasn't going to be sufficient. The temporary location that I equipped. So I thought about building my own plant. And on 85th and Lafayette, there was about 20 acres. And there was about 20 acres, but about 11 of them belonged to a guy who owned the bank I first started banking in, who turned me down for a loan that I wanted to buy my first mixing machine. Anyway, I looked at that, and it was on the Dan Ryan Expressway. And Mr. Fuller always said that, anyway, I learned this from him, that, he would say that Black folks don't believe they can do what white folks can do. But when they see Black folks doing something, they think that Black folks can do what you see other Black folks doing. So I realized that this property sitting on Dan Ryan Expressway in the heart of the Black community could be a big incentive if I built my plant there. And long story, but I'm not going to go through that, all of it. Just it's sufficient to say that I built my plant there, and it was an attractive thing, and I think it inspired a lot of people. And when Dr. King came 2 months after we moved into the new building in 1966. And he looked at the building from the outside to the inside. And when he walked in the front door, he looked up at the second floor, I was up there and with Francine, who was our receptionist, and he looked down on the lower level and saw people walking back and forth, some of them with white smocks on, and he looked to James Bevel and two other guys that were with him, and he said, "Now this is Black power," and I was thrilled to hear that.
Listen, y'all, if you just tuned in, we got Paul, Chippy, Randy, Veggie Strong, Stephen Lambert, shout out. Anybody else, just put in the chat where you're from. This is the Chicken Box powered by the Afro News, talking about Afro Sheen. Now Jay, we got Afro swag today. Jay Jackson, I know you're itching for a question, so I'm gonna let him get in because we could spend like 5 years just talking to George and not even scratch the surface. But jump in real quick. I just wanted to shout out everybody tuning in.
Yeah,
this is gonna be fantastic. Hit the share button and share it with some of your friends, and pick up the book Afro Sheen. Dr. Draper, pull it up, man.
So perfect. So one, I want to apologize that two out of the three hosts don't even have hair. So just first off, but
I had hair. Okay, let's
look,
get it straight. And I had Afro Sheen, the blue one. Okay,
the blue one. Okay,
all right. Okay, back to you. Go
ahead. So I have so many questions, and I was really just enjoying hearing these stories. Someone did ask before I asked my question. Paul S. in the comments asked, "What was some of your best moments during your time?" And I feel like the story you just told is got to be one of the greatest moments to hear King say that, like in earshot of you. But do you have any other moments that just really stood out as just, this has to go in the book, this I have to tell my grandkids, this is the quintessential JPC story?
Well, one of the things I'm most proud of is the rapport we had with our employees. We had some of the most loyal employees that ever worked for anybody in any business. And I believe the reason for it is because, I love people and I love my employees. And when I found out we started in 54. In 1960, I found out from my auditors that I could put 15% of profits before taxes in a profit sharing plan for employees. And I took advantage of that. And in 1960, I started employee profit sharing plan with 17 people. And we contributed 15% of profits before taxes until 1984, when we had our first loss in the history of the company. Wow. But that profit sharing plan was a great thing to do. It helped people. It helped people feel they were really a part of the company, and that they worked like that. I kept people longer than probably the average company. I mean, the people. Not only that, all the other things that we did for people. My feeling was that my employees spend more of their waking hours with me in the company working, right. And it ought to be as comfortable for them, or even more comfortable for them in their workplace than at home. So I wanted them to feel, like they were at home in my company, and that's how we were.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
This is the Chicken Box. You experienced a legendary moment. Did you say you were 97 years old, young George?
I'm 97. I'll be 98 in 3 months in June.
98 with a mind sharper than sharp. You hear me? Man, shout out to George, 98 years. You really 98 already because you know you don't count that first one, so you're already 98. So, um, what do you say to the young African American now who's thinking about being a manufacturer? Because I don't hear that. I don't hear that talk much. But as they talk about bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., what is something a young manufacturer might want to look for in starting a company?
Well, first of all, you got to have a good reason to start a business. You got to have either a product or service that is superior to the competition, and he's got to have something that people need or want and value. He's also got to have a burning desire to succeed in a business and be willing to work his butt off. You got to love people. You got to trust people. You got to help people. And if you help people, they'll help you. You got to serve people to the extent that they know that you are different, that that you have their interests ahead of your interests. And then you got to love them, serve them well. They'll make you successful. And then I would always tell them, do two things. Well, first of all, always strive for excellence. And then do what I did. Do what I did, and that is live the golden rule.
The golden rule, if you missed it earlier, you had to rewind and hear what the golden rule was. Dr. Draper, I mean, we got two CEOs, we have two legendary companies. I'm trying to figure out, where did Afro come from? Was it from the hair? Or where did you come up with Afro Sheen as the product?
I didn't come up with Afro Sheen. My advertising agent, the first Black advertising agency that was formed maybe in the United States or definitely in Chicago, Vince Colors, the late Vince Colors, and Vince was actually, I got him from Ebony magazine. He was the head of the art department in Ebony and started his own advertising business, and I was his first customer. So
Gotcha.
right. So when the Afro began to get really popular, Dr. King had pronounced that we don't need to do all these things that we do with our personal selves. That what the way God made us is good enough, and that really was working against me. But and as a result, I was losing a lot of my customers from hair straightening, those that cut off the process and were going natural. So it was kind of hurting my business. And I realized that we had to do something. And Doc Martini came up with a great product to soften the hair, the natural, give it a good glow, a good sheen, and Vince came up with the name Afro Sheen, and he copyrighted and then gave us the copyright, and that's how the name Afro Sheen was invented. I named Ultra Sheen long before Afro Sheen was even thought about, and that was in 1954. First thing I called it was Ultra Wave Hair Culture, then it was Ultra Sheen for the ladies' products.
Can Mr. Johnson, can we talk about going to 1969? The company is doing quite well at this point, and your revenue is doing excellent for this company. And then you have this moment where you kind of realize that television might be the next way to sort of push JPC's products kind of through the roof, right? And you eventually got in contact with Soul Train, and you guys became sponsors of that. I am dying to hear the story behind this connection and how you guys remained sponsors for them until the show ended, which is really remarkable.
Well, and it wasn't 1969. It was 1970.
70, okay.
That was it? Yeah, 1971 actually. The first advertising agency I had was a white agency, and the executive, the ad executive on my account was a person that I became friends with. Tom Kuhn was his name, and Tom called me up one day. We were not in that agency at the time. Tom called me up one day and said that that there was something I ought to see that was going on in Chicago, and wanted to take me to see this show that was televised in black and white 5 days a week. And I said, okay, let's go and see it, and I did. And this was a show that Don Cornelius had created. It was a copy of what was his name? Bandstand. Bandstand. Yeah, it was a copy of Bandstand that I was trying to think of the name. That's why I was hesitating.
Dick Clark? Was it Dick Clark?
Dick Clark. Okay. Anyway, that was this show that I went to see was a copy of that, only it was all black, and Dick Clark's show was all white. Right. So I saw a lot of promise when I looked at the show, but when they showed it on TV, it was in black and white, and that was not the same thing that I saw with my own eyes, in color with my own eyes. So I invested in a 30-minute color of that program. So when I saw the color, it had the energy that I saw when I looked at it the first time. And but anyway, then Tom introduced me to Don, and Don and I hit it off real good. It wasn't called Soul Train. The show in Chicago was not called Soul Train. I can't remember what the name was. But between the time I saw the show and the time I created an LLC and as a company, and gave Don 50% and Johnson Products kept 50%. Don came up with the name before we did taped the first show, and he came up with a great name. Soul Train was a great name.
Perfect. Yeah, it was.
Perfect name. Anyway, Don didn't have any money to invest, but he had to show he was the host, he wrote the script, and he was good. So I thought a 50-50 split was proper. Anyway, we didn't get off. It didn't get off as easily as it looks, but I had to invest in bringing artists to the show. I think the first show was I forget his name. He had the best one of the hottest orchestras in the country, and a lot of hits. Maybe his name will pop in my head in a minute. But anyway, that's how we got out. And I had to buy 9. We bought 9 markets, and I had to pay the stations to show the Soul Train. But that only lasted a few months. I guess before the end of the first year, we were getting Soul Train on a lot of stations and not paying a dime for it. But
it just became that popular.
Yeah, right away.
I love that story about Soul Train. That's
we
great.
started out with 9 markets, and within a year and a half, we had about 200 markets.
Wow. Yeah, because this article we actually have on afro.com this morning about your entire story. It actually says that you guys tripled the amount of revenue you were bringing in within 5 years once you started on Soul Train, which is just incredible.
It's a little more than triple. Yeah.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah. Soul Train went on there in October of 71. And at the end of 71, my sales were like 11.2 million. Soul Train bumped it up quickly, quite a bit in those last 3 months of 71. And between 71 and 75, Soul Train took Johnson Products from 11.2 million to 37 million in 75.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing. Well, that's the Afro story that Jay is talking about. So when you talk, and so thank you for that. I mean, that's huge. That's tremendous growth. Afro Sheen you were also on the stock exchange, correct?
Yeah, in 1971, we went on American Stock Exchange. We went public in 1969.
Okay, you went public. You went on the American Stock Exchange, so people could actually buy shares in the company. And so, were you all the first Black company, manufacturing company on this American?
We were the first Black company in America to go public in 1969, and the first Black company to be listed on any stock exchange in 1971.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Afro Sheen, Afro News, Afro Clean. If you just tuning in, we have the legend, the 98 years young, the ageless. I think you must have put some Afro Sheen on your skin or something, because you still looking good, Mr. Jordan. Out of all these years. Listen, the book is amazing. I'm sure they're going to make it a film, because these are the stories that our kids need to hear. You said a lot of people don't think they can do it until they see somebody who looks like them as a role model. So the limit is usually set on ourselves in our own minds about what we can achieve. And back then, you showed everybody, the whole world, even from getting Soul Train going, that your vision could be clear. It went from black and white to color, which is inspiring for a lot of people. They have dreams that might still be fuzzy right now. They might be in black and white, but you can take it to color. The young kid said you went viral. You started out on 9 channels and went to 200. They knew. They said, if we get this show on our station, we can sell a bunch of advertising. So they said, look, you don't have to pay us anymore. We know a hit when we hear one. So, I mean, the time is going good. You guys have to get to buy the book. You have to get the book. Is it going to be an audio version and as well? Or?
Yeah, that is one now, yes. And in the book, I talk about him. Whitney Phipps did the audio, and he was somewhat of a mentee of mine. I met him when he was 22. He's 70 years old today. But when he was 22, I met him. He had just gotten married, just graduated from the Seventh-day Adventist college in
You need some water?
in Alabama, and anyway, I was in my I was on my way to my office one Saturday morning, and normally I got to drink a little water here.
All right, while he takes a water break, thank you for tuning in. This is the Chicken Box powered by the Afro News. We used to be the Afro newspaper, but we're a media company now. We had to keep evolving. We are hitting 7 generations strong, 132 years, and we thank you. Go to afro.com right now and get yourself a digital subscription. If you like paper, you can get digital and newspaper for less than 2 Uber Eats. I'm talking about $40, y'all. Y'all lose $40 in your pants pocket. You could have a subscription to the Afro where we tell stories about inspiring, uplifting individuals who impact not only our community but the world. Back to you, George. You ready?
Okay. Anyway, I met him at Push headquarters, and I liked him. We when I heard him sing, I was sold on him, and I kind of took him under my wings and helped him out. In fact, I put him on my payroll, and also rented him a car, and kept and really tried to help him out. The first thing I did was when I was on the board of Our Power, Dr. Schuler, Dr. Schuler's program. I got Dr. Schuler to have him sing, invite him to sing, and he did. And Dr. Schuler just fell in love with him, and had him back there at least 5 times. And Wintley has gone on to be a world renowned. He is sang for every president except one, 6 presidents except one. He sang all over the country, all over the world. I meant, and is a great minister, by the way, a great minister, and I love him.
Well, he is a great minister. Beautiful music, that everybody can relate to. You said he recently got married. It wasn't so long ago that you got married.
That I got married.
That you got remarried, right?
I got listen. That November 2021, when I had that epiphany,
mm-hmm.
that was just one thing that happened in November 2021.
Okay, tell us about it. What else happened?
Well, my granddaughters were trying to find. My wife, Joan Johnson, passed in 2019. I'd never been alone in my life, and I couldn't handle being alone. It put me in a depression, and I was that way for almost 2 years. Well, about 2 years. Anyway, one of my granddaughters called me up on I think it was the 4th of November, and asked me if I knew Madeline Rabb. Well, I told her, I know Madeline Rabb. I know Madeline Rabb for over 50 years. Get her phone number. And 3 hours later, I don't have the phone number. So I called her back and said, where's the phone number? She said, I called Morris, a mutual friend, guy I knew too. And he didn't answer the phone, and I left him a message, and he hadn't called me back. Anyway, I picked up my phone for the first time in my life, and I went to Google, and I put in Madeline Rabb, 161 East Chicago Avenue, and 3 names came up, and she was in the middle. And after thumbing through her webpage, because she made jewelry also, and she was an artist. Anyway, at the end of it was a phone number, and I called the phone number, and she answered. Anyway, in that conversation, I invited her to dinner, and I had dinner together, and that started it. that was in November of 2021, and March 30th, 2022, we got married.
Well, you weren't playing around, huh? You wasn't messing around. George got right to it. You hear me?
At 94, at 94, you don't have time.
Hey, at 94, he shot his shot.
You gotta move fast.
Fellas, when you see
Fair
what
enough.
you want,
But I have to show you
your
this.
shot.
Well, the story is still up on afro.com. George and Madeline told me their story. It's up on afro.com. A beautiful, beautiful love story. George said at 94, he didn't have time, so he took matters into his own hand.
Hey, that's all right.
Well, the thing about it, I've been happy every day. Every day we have not had any problems. It's been wonderful.
Well, she's a wonderful person as well.
Well, that's your book, Happy Every Day. You can write it together.
And she worked with me on this book every day. She was by my side the whole almost 2 years that we spent writing this book.
Well, it's a wonderful book, and the listeners, the viewers may not know, you also sold your company. You did a successful sale of the company where you maintained, I believe, 54%. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that. We're almost out of time and time to jump on the box. We'll have to have you back.
Okay. I didn't sell the company.
Okay. Help me.
Oh, hate to go through this, but anyway.
You need to read the book.
Yeah.
Well, you might not want to tell it all. People can get the book.
Oh, we'll read the book. We'll read the book. We'll read the book.
I would appreciate that.
We will. We'll read.
Oh, don't. Yeah. We don't want to give the whole story away.
Right.
I will say this. As I was reading about that, it's a very nice ending. How things ended up sort of back by the end. So I was a little saddened to read it, and then I was like, the ending. I was like, okay, that feels nice. It feels nice the way it ended. So.
Right. Well, we remarried in 1995 after the divorce, and we were really not apart, but only apart about 2 years, because we got back together in 92, and we divorced in 98. And in 92 we got back together, and married in 95. And we lived happily until she passed in 2019. We had a wonderful relationship, and in the last 10 years I was her caretaker. But it was a wonderful relationship.
Amen. Amen. In sickness and in health, people out there married, listen, it ain't always what you think it is, but it's always what it needs to be. Man, this chicken box is legendary. We got Afro News and George E. Johnson, founder of Afro Sheen Johnson Products, one of the premier business icons. You're not just a businessman, you are iconic in the culture. You impacted the culture. And I hope somebody gets inspired, especially during a time like this. Black people, we got to put our resources together. You heard he saw somebody that had talent. He had the resources and he helped out somebody else. Come on, y'all. Don't be so selfish. That's why a lot of times we can't do anything together, is because of selfishness. So this is the part where I get on the box. Okay, I'm standing on the box. I'm on the chicken box. As you go through life, please do something for somebody else. Do not go through life being selfish, especially in this business. If you have the resources, the knowledge to share with a person without feeling intimidated, or that someone's going to take something from you, because what God has for you, he has for you, believe it. And if you're thinking about starting a business, it takes the same amount of energy to think big as it does small. Now I'm off the box. Jay Jackson, you are on the box.
Okay. So what I would say is, one, thank you for taking your time, Mr. Johnson. That was great. It was just wonderful to hear these stories. It really was. And I've already saved the audio version of your book to listen to, so I can sort of finish it. What I would say is this: you are a legend. My co-host is absolutely right about that. I always like to think about, when it comes to businesses, and sort of, especially for Black folks, kind of creating these businesses that go on to do far more than I think even the original founders thought it could do, let alone everyone looking on the outside. I have a personal saying, which is lower the barriers, raise the impetus, right? Which is this idea of those people who did right by you, they gave you that space to lower the things that would stop you from achieving what you did. And you were able to sort of raise that ability, raise the impetus as far as push harder to drive for excellence, as you said all the time, to make your business what it was. And every time you got the opportunity, you did right by people, and that kind of came back to you, and you kept going. And it's really cool for you to sit here and then tell us these stories, and then people can listen to what you did. And like Dr. Draper said in the beginning, it's almost a blueprint, and say, okay, well, I want to do this. Who can I look to who did this and did it quite successfully with class? And I think your story is proof of that. So I appreciate your time. It was really super fascinating story. Really was. Thank you.
Dr. Draper, you were on the box.
I want to thank you, George, for joining us on today, and for being unashamedly Christian and living out your Christian principles. There are a lot of people that say they believe in God and they believe in the principles of the Bible, but they believe in them on Sunday. And when they run their businesses, they do something else Monday through Friday or Saturday, and then ask for forgiveness on Sunday. You have walked the talk. And so I want to commend you for that. You haven't been perfect. Nobody's perfect.
Nope.
And you have certainly been very transparent in your book about your highs and your lows and your vulnerabilities and things that people can learn from. But you always kept the golden rule at the center. Mm-hmm. And I believe that's why God has blessed you to be here nearly 100 years. And so thank you for sharing your incredible story. Because as you said, when people see this that you can accomplish, it encourages those who are coming behind to say, you know what, George Johnson did that. Let me see how he did it. Maybe I can do it too.
Yep.
And so we just, I see somebody put up on the screen to ask you back. We'd love to have you come back. There's so much more that we can glean from you. So thank you for writing a Bible of sorts for entrepreneurs, young and not so young, to say that, you know what, if George Johnson could do it, maybe I can too. So thank you. I'm off the box.
Yeah, Paul said ask him back, but we have a Black Expo coming up later this year. And maybe we can figure out a way to either stream you in or bring you in for our Black Business Expo. The Afro's Black Business Expo. So final words, George, you are on the box. Final words you want to leave with our audience today.
Mm-hmm. For entrepreneurs that are just getting started, my best advice is get close to the Lord and stay as close as you can. He will take you places you could never believe you could go. That's my advice.
That's a mic drop there. You thought it was going to be complicated. Stay close to the Lord. Good God Almighty. If that ain't good, well, look, we can go to church and say that every day and get out. We don't even have to have a long sermon.
Not just for Sunday. Not just for Sunday. Always be close to the Lord. Yeah. It's not easy, but strive for it. The benefits, well, I didn't do it for benefits, but the rewards are fantastic. That's where your power comes. the Lord gives you the power and the strength to do the things that you never thought you could do.
He dropped the mic one more time, y'all. Listen, this is the Afro's Chicken Box with the iconic, legendary George E. Johnson, founder of Johnson Products, and a legendary brand, Afro Sheen, which we affectionately all had in our household at some time. We all had a Johnson product, at least in the Black community. Throughout our lives, we saw you on Soul Train. We saw you all over the place. We saw you in manufacturing and business and marketing. If you just listen to it, if you go back and listen to what he was talking about, he wasn't doing everything on his own, people. He had a team of people helping grow that business. And that's good advice right there. So do us a favor as usual. Call a senior. Tell them you love them. Don't text them. They love to hear from you. They ain't heard from you in a while. As you know, a lot of our seniors are lonely, ignored. Sometimes they need somebody just to stop by and sit down and talk with them. Again, don't be selfish, because you might get to be a senior yourself one day. So until next time, go buy Afro Sheen. You can buy it digitally right now. You can download the audio version. And if you like some people who just love a good book, order the book. I'm sure it'll be there overnight. Until next time, tell Madeline we said hello. Oh, she could probably hear us.
Hello, thank you.
Hey, Madeline. That's the one that took the joy away. How to Be Happy Every Day. That's your new book, Madeline. How to Be Happy Every Day. Oh, there you go. Look, hold on. Let me put y'all on the big screen. What a beautiful couple. Married at 94 years old. You see why George had to get that phone number, fellas. He had to get that phone number. He wasn't playing with it. Hey, we love you. You are the premier power couple. We love how I enjoyed a great lunch with you guys. Your energy and love as a couple is really radiant, and it flows over to hearts and to many people. So continue to show that Black love, and we'll continue to show you love. Everybody, have a great day.
Thank you.
And be blessed. Go back and listen to it and get the book and tell them, I might think about manufacturing something, George. They want to bring everything back to America. Let's do it. Let's